What is going on, YouTube? So I wanted to do a video today talking about the strangeness that comes with why certain console pricing does not change. And the big one we're going to talk about today is GameCube prices. So a lot of us know that over the past, almost 2 years now, the price of GameCube games has skyrocketed. Now, when COVID hit in 2020, we went back one time and looked, and you could see as soon as COVID hit, N64 games skyrocketed, and I would like to think that's because a lot of times the people that had the most fun money then was people probably my age or so that grew up with an N64. So when everybody got stuck inside and was required to, isolate and stay away, they started digging through their stuff. They found their old Nintendo 64. They brought it out. It's like, well, we're going to be stuck here for a while, so we might as well sit down and enjoy this. So they started buying Nintendo 64 games, and, I like to think that's why the N64 took off. Now, the one thing that we do know for a fact is it seems like Nintendo games like to hold their value, whether it be, like I said, GameCube, Nintendo Switch games right now. There is games that are coming out there is games that have been out since launch that still cost about $50 at Walmart to get. And now with the recent Tears of the Kingdom coming out, and the price is kind of jumping up to that $70 range for the Switch games. But unless there's some kind of indie game or some kind of cheap some cheap game that was already made to begin with, the Switch games have also held their value. But we're going to look at GameCube games today. Now, one of the things that I think that a lot of people love about Nintendo, especially GameCube, N64 area like that, was they were very family based, very family oriented. So, but they also had a bunch of exclusives. They like to hold on to their companies and stuff. You won't see Animal Crossing really on any other consoles. You won't see Mario popping up on Xbox or anything like that. So, if you wanted those games, you had to get the Nintendo thing. And I think that's why, you'll have games like Mario Party and stuff like that that hold on to value, simply because you cannot get Mario on anything else. So we're just going to kind of look at some of these GameCube prices and kind of look at the trend to see where they're at and how they've been doing. I know me personally, I'm not a huge GameCube fan. I grew up with Xbox and PS2. And like I said, the exclusives for the PS2 and Xbox weren't as good as I believe the GameCube. But we are noticing now that it seems like shovelware and Wii and stuff is still pretty cheap. Xbox is pretty cheap. PlayStation is pretty cheap. There's nothing crazy like that. But there is games, obviously, on the GameCube that have really just held value. Now, in a few years or so, will people get older and nostalgia settle in, and maybe more people will start buying Wii games. I know that for a while there, you can get Wii U games super cheap, but they're starting to increase in value now. But I just don't see the Wii games themselves getting very expensive. But one of the first ones I wanted to look at was Animal Crossing, because that kind of caught my eye. So what I love about price charting is they will show you what the sold prices are on eBay and everything, so you can kind of get a general idea of what everything is costing. So we're going to let's look at Complete. So Complete in box, Animal Crossing has been going for around $53 with four sales a day. Now we're going to be looking here. This is what I'm talking about when we notice when COVID hit. So this nice little chart right here shows you since it was released what the pricing has done. Or I think since maybe price charting has started, which might have been back in the 2013. I'm not 100% sure there, guys. But that might be just the first online registered sales. But we can look here back in April in 2020. Right after the March hit. And COVID really kind of took them, and the price just, look at that. Within a few months' time, 5 months, the price almost tripled in value, basically. And then it kind of dove off during the COVID, but we have a general vicinity that's been holding on here. So you can see that it's been in the $50 range, and it hasn't been giving up. For a little bit there in February of this year, it kind of jumped up to about the 60-69 range. But that's pretty insane if you ask me, because if you look about right here, prior to the COVID really hitting, the games really weren't that expensive. I think because they're all different too, with the mini disc, and the GameCube to me did not sell very well. Obviously, I believe Xbox and PlayStation really kicked its butt in that console war, but there is some cool stuff about the GameCube. I'm not a big fan of the controller, but I know a lot of people that really love it, but it's something different. So let's go ahead and check out. Let's check out the black GameCube system itself. And you can see here in about, it's been fluctuating the past few years. 2020, it kind of started to go up, and we're seeing that. In the last 3 years, this GameCube stuff has really held its value and kind of increased. Prior to COVID, let's see, that in November and October, man, everything just seemed to be so cheap. You could get a GameCube for about $30 then, and nowadays you're looking at about twice that price. But just seeing that during that time is really cool to see. I think I just said see a bunch of times, but the pricing it's insane. I don't understand, for the most part, why GameCube does that. I do know because Nintendo, just something about Nintendo holds value. And maybe it's because it's, one of the OGs when it first started off. Sony and Xbox really didn't come in until the later generations. Specifically, PlayStation when the N64 came out, and then the Xbox didn't come out until the GameCube era. And it's just insane to see that. Maybe it's because it's just holding on a bit more value. Maybe we'll just check out one more game. Let's see. I know one super expensive game. Let's check out Ribbit King. I actually have Ribbit King, and I thought about selling it, but I've just been watching the value of that thing just keep going. Let's see here. Okay, there it is. So Ribbit Game Complete has been selling for $163. And if we look back here, this was, wow, at one point this was selling for almost $300, guys. One freaking game. And you know what's really funny about this game is you can also get it on the PS2. When you buy it on the PS2, it is really, I think it's only like $30-$40, but at one point it was $300 on the GameCube. That is outrageous, guys. But it's just weird seeing that. I know at some point I better hold on to it, so that way maybe I'll get lucky and I'll go back up to the $200 range. It looks like right here it did sell on the 22nd, complete with manual and registration card, mint for about $279, and then otherwise it's been kind of going around there. But that is kind of just my theory on what GameCube and stuff like that is. I know it all really depends on the current generation of gamers. Maybe the GameCube games right now is skyrocketing because people that are getting to that certain age and adults have that fun money. They want to relive the glory days. They might have hit that midlife crisis or they're getting close to it. And they want to try and capture their youth, so they're playing the old school games from their youth. Now, like I said, I wasn't a huge GameCube fan, but I have found myself buying original PlayStation games and stuff because I loved them as a child. Or I download them. Sorry, guys. I do emulation. Gatekeep all you want. But I want to relive those glory days of playing as a kid. So especially with PlayStation 1, Sega, and stuff like that. Just those games in general. But I think that is a lot of what's going on here. But I also believe that a lot of this is influenced by YouTubers. Now, you'll see Retro Wolf, GameCube Galaxy, and a lot of those other guys that are really just loving GameCube and doing a lot of stuff about that. So I think when their videos come out and people really see that stuff, they really enjoy it. So it just gets them the kind of the urge, the motivation, the dedication to wanting to get those games. So I think YouTube is a big influence, and I've talked about in the past about how YouTubers, I believe, are a big influence on people's collections. Now, that's not true about everybody in general. I'm not trying to, pigeonhole people here, pigeon-toe it, or whatever the hell that term is for. But I do know that a lot of times people will not buy certain games unless maybe a YouTuber tells them to, or they see certain YouTubers doing collection videos, and they're like, man, I really want to do that. So if at one point, a lot of, let's say, Metal Jesus Rocks and stuff like these guys really push the GameCube, I think a lot of times that will also help push the prices too, because a lot of people will see the videos. You know, I don't remember off the top of my head how many Metal Jesus Rocks has now, but I remember always seeing like how much of a big influence he is on people. So we have, at one point there was dust covers for your consoles, and people would get the consoles and they bought the dust covers from the company on Etsy, I believe, or something like that. But Metal Jesus Rocks recommended it, and when I messaged them to get one, they literally said in the conversation, you can buy it and we'll make it for you, but it's going to be a long wait, because of Metal Jesus Rocks' recent video has really brought up the market for buying these. So that's kind of one influence, I think, too, on the GameCube cost. But I want to know what's in your comments below. What do you guys think? Why do you personally think that the GameCube games are really holding on to value? And do you think that that bubble's going to pop here pretty soon? Like I said, looking at Ribbit King here, at one point it was $300 about 2 years ago, and it's really kind of dropped off and about half that price as of this month. But I want to know, did you grow up with a GameCube? Are you big fans of GameCube and stuff like that? And what do you think that, like I said, do you think the market's going to pop on them? And also, what are some YouTube channels that you really like that might also be mainly focused on GameCube stuff? Like I'm a big fan of GameCube Galaxy, so I really like watching his videos whenever they come out. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching. As always, stay retro, my friends, and I hope to see you in the next video.